Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening, Anele. Thank you very much.
Hi. How is
Hi.
everyone doing?
Good, and you?
Uh, are you able to see me? I can't see myself on the video, so are you able to see me?
Yes, we can see you with your beautiful pink and white, blue, green top.
Oh, okay. Because I was just getting, I can't see, I can just see the Proudly South African cover slide.
No, we can see you. I don't know about other people, but I know I can.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, let me start again now that I'm sure that you can see me and you can hear me and I can hear everybody. Good evening, everyone. Happy Thursday. Welcome to a different time slot for this webinar. I know through an evening slots to see if a lot of our guests and attendees, if this works better for them, because the whole point of our webinars is to serve our members, to serve our entrepreneurs, and we want to see if this is a better time than during the day. So we know it is a bit different, but we thank you for being with us. And we hope you'll be with us until the very end. My name is Anile Ndlovu, and I will be the facilitator for this webinar, which has a very interesting topic, local sparks, national impact. And when I received the brief, I was like, I wonder what this could mean. And, when I looked at it, local sparks refers to our mostly rural and township entrepreneurs and emerging SMMEs. Uh, a spark has been ignited in them to play a critical role in providing solutions for customers, driving employment, strengthening communities, and contributing to national growth. So the local spark speaks to those business owners who or entrepreneurs who feel I have something to contribute and I may be starting out, but I really do believe that I have something that I can share and give and serve our communities. And what this webinar aims to do is explore how the slow, intentional actions at grassroots level can translate into meaningful, large-scale economic transformation. Some of the objectives that our speakers will engage on are the following, and we are hoping that as our guests, you will also engage in asking questions, whether from own personal experience or from what our speakers will share on, to demonstrate the economic impact of local businesses, strengthen understanding of local economic development, promote market access and growth opportunities for SMMEs, encourage cross-sector collaboration, shift mindsets from competition to collaboration, equip attendees with practical tools and frameworks, and lastly, to drive advocacy for supporting local. And that is one of the key mandates of Proudly South African, is to encourage us to produce local, to consume local, to buy local. And we will also get that sense from our speakers and how it is that we can really truly support our local entrepreneurs so that they may grow, may be sustainable, and they will continue to contribute to growing our economy. I'm going to ask Janine from Proudly South African as our host to officially welcome us, but also to give us just an overview of who Proudly South African is. I don't want to take it for granted that we are all aware of who Proudly South African is. There may be a few of us who are joining for the first time who are not too sure. And also there may be some who haven't joined us in a while or some who need a refresher of who Proudly South African is. As Janine will mention, we are a member-based organization, so you may be keen in actually becoming a member, and what she will share will help you in making that decision. If you need more information on Proudly South African, you can visit our website, you can visit our social pages. More information is there as well. I would like to hand over to you, Janine, to give us that overview.
Thank you, Program Director Anele, and hello everybody, fellow speakers, and then also the attendees or the delegates. It's lovely to be with you at this time of the day. A bit of a change for us, but I think it's a lovely topic, and I think we're going to spend a lovely hour together. I'm going to share my screen. I know we only have an hour, and just put in presentation mode. Wonderful. Thank you. So to take you through the mandate of Proudly SA, so I think the connection to take one step back is from my experience at Proudly South African. I have been so thrilled and so fortunate to have worked and seen the growth of so many beautiful ideas into fully fledged businesses that are expanding, that have gone from garage businesses to factories, and to see what the common denominators are in each business's success. So to take you through what the work that we do and how we've engaged and interacted with some of these companies, I think it will give you a good sense about the work that we do and also what we've seen throughout the years. So we are the National Buy Local campaign. We're a not-for-profit company, but we work very closely with government, with businesses on the private sector side, also civil society and labor movement are all on our board. And we have an independent chairman. And our mandate is really to drive, just as Anela said, to really encourage those to produce, consume, and buy local. So we work with all three spheres of society. So you're looking at the public sector, the private sector, and then with consumers. And that's our job, to advocate and lobby. So the phenomenon of the Buy Local campaign, you'll see it in many other countries. Stronger countries that are stronger economically speaking than us have their own Buy Local movements. So ourselves, we were modeled off the Australian Made campaign, but we've grown into our own since we've been established in 2001. And we've also consulted with other Buy Local campaigns in Africa, and we've seen them grow following our advice and exploring ideas together. It's been very interesting. So looking at the importance of localization, which is really also part of our mandate, is to educate those on why it's important to buy local or why it's important to localize, and I'll expand on that word a little bit later. But really it is the education around localization is to retain or create jobs, looking at skills development, economic development, improved living standards, infrastructure development, increase in the GDP, empowerment, and the list goes on. So it's always important to have a reason behind the work that you're doing, and that's what that slide seeks to achieve. If you look at why is it important to have a Buy Local campaign, why are we in existence? If you can look at the following slide, this is in the furniture sector. It's just to showcase what happens when we start importing without really thinking about things. The furniture industry has really, it's a third of what it used to be. If you're looking at the last 20, 30 years, we had over 3,000 factories. We've got now 1,100. We had 50,000 direct jobs. We now have 25,000 direct jobs. It's all because of imports. That is or largely because of imports. And if you look at the effect, what this has had on the industry is it's affected the whole value chain. So if you can imagine, if you're thinking about furniture, there are beds in the houses, there are tables, chairs in the offices. We're sitting at a table today and on a chair, and there are many elements to a chair. For instance, so if one part of the one manufacturer had to stop business and somebody had to count on that product to make a complete or to complete the chair. There is a break in the value chain that has been happening, and that has forced people to rethink where do they get their supplies from. It has affected value chains. It does mean that other factories have had to repurpose or close or reduce the number of employees that they have. So it really has had an adverse effect on this industry specifically. And for us as Proudly SA, if we can just educate everybody, ask them to keep the demand high for locally made goods. If the consumer speaks, the retailers will listen. And we've got phenomenal members on our books of manufacturers and also retailers who have given us localization commitments. So I'm just portraying to you or the value chain around and the work that we do in terms of encouraging everybody to really join the movement and believe in what we stand for. And we've really got fantastic examples to share with you. It's all good and well to say it's important to localize, but we did have to ask an economist to help convince the naysayers, the localization naysayers, why it's important to localize. And we've looked at a study. We asked that a study be conducted, and a 10% investment in the manufacturing sector could mean that the GDP of the country grows, the fiscal revenue increases, but most importantly, we can create over 75,000 jobs in the medium term. So it does pay to localize and give that 10% investment. Us as a consumer, we can make a choice. 10%, change your procurement habits, just 10%, and look at what you might have purchased from companies manufacturing abroad and change it. Change your procurement habits and see if you can make a 10% change. It will have a phenomenal effect on the growth of our economy, also making sure businesses stay competitive here. And just to make sure that jobs are retained or created, which is a win for us all. Now, looking at our mandate, I have mentioned that we work with the public sector, the private sector, and consumers. But what we also focus on is promoting the accessibility of locally made goods and services, so that when we go knocking on the doors of the private sector or the public sector, we actually have a database to share with them. So accessibility of these players is what's important. And that's what all of our efforts go into every single day at Proudly SA. If you're looking at the business eco support system, we are at the helm of access to markets. That is what we are there for. We unfortunately cannot help with funding, with IP issues, support in general, compliance, productivity, tax, statutory obligations, information. We do have other very, very wonderful stakeholders, and some of them are on the webinar today that are our support. If you think about the CETAs, etc., they are our support, and we count on them to be to heed the call, which they always do. They stand up and they come, they show up and they assist our members. So come on, I would like to suggest if you've got any needs, just relay what they are to us. If you're a member, then we can do that. We can refer you to these agencies or entities that can help you with whatever issue you are facing. But just keep in mind where we lie in the greater scheme of things, it's access to market. So just to take you through what we do in the private sector, we are asking the private sector, will you commit? So they have given us localization commitments. So these are big corporates with big spending power. And what we've asked of them to do is to give us a localization commitment, which could take the form of introducing procurement practices and policies into the work that they do in order to favor locally made companies or locally made products rather than sourcing from abroad. So we've got fantastic examples in some of the banks that have decided to buy locally made furniture. So if you can imagine one of the major banks looking for furniture and committed to only buy locally made furniture, you can imagine the buying power and the effect and the change that we can make. So that is one example. Also to introduce import replacement of raw materials or components that have been imported. If there are local equivalents, reach out to us. We will check our base and respond to you. But there's always an investment opportunity. But we are very much aware that sometimes this is not possible. But where possible, we're asking companies to buy from locally produced, from the local producers in terms of raw materials and components. For retailers, their commitment would be to increase shelf space, but also to say maybe we'll buy our cleaning products from a local manufacturer rather than importing them, because thinking about cleaning a whole retail chain, big job, a big contract. And then when there are ESD or enterprise and supply development programs, we also ask that local content requirements be included in those agreements with the companies, so that we keep the spend within the borders, we keep the localization at the tips of the tongues in terms of everyday practices, and are some of the work that we've had successes in: manufacturers, autos, retailers, hospitals, schools, and banks. We've all influenced them to buy local, and we've received amazing commitments, over 95 now, to the value of between 6 to 8 billion rand per annum. So there's impact that I think we're going to feel because of these commitments, and we're so thrilled to celebrate these. And then what the benefit for members are, we then present you as a company, a Proudly SA member company, to these businesses so that they can realize their commitments. And we do that through our market access platform. Now, we have spoken about the platform for many months, and it's been going and it's been functioning well. We ourselves also procure from this site, but it really is a B2B, a business to business, a non-transactional platform. So we list our members on as suppliers, and then we have over 230 corporates that are listed on as buyers. And what that entails is they post an opportunity, a tender opportunity on the site, and then it gets dispersed to our membership base operating in that space. So you can imagine the possibilities there, with the backing of Proudly SA, and also the private sector really hitting the call to buy local. I think it's a win-win for you as a business joining us as Proudly SA. And just for those buyers who are on the webinar tonight, this also allows you, if you have any preferential procurement targets, it allows you to do business with certain companies of a specific size, present in a certain locality where you want to do business with, looking at these scorecards. Also, if you want to prefer to buy from youth-owned businesses, Black-owned businesses, disabled, military veterans, etc., the list goes on. This site is for you, completely free of charge for you to list as a member company. And then, of course, for those buyers on the call, for you then also to list completely free of charge to make use of the system. And then I would like to just make mention, traditionally, we've done all of these wonderful events targeting the private sector. So we have our own Buy Local Summit and Expo, and it's an exhibition, it's a conference, it's a matchmaking opportunity with businesses that we take to our members exhibiting. It's also, there's a lot of consumer activations. The public sector is involved. It really is our flagship, and we're so proud of this event that was the first of its kind in the country, which we're looking forward to organizing the 15th edition next year. So we have the Buy Local Summit and Expo. We also have made friends with a lot of e-commerce platforms. They're listing our members from the likes, like you see, Zulzi, to the Takealot. So we've got really great relationships. We ask that members be listed, maybe waiving the listing fee or making it cheaper. Also allowing companies to use the Proudly SA logo or the Proudly SA phrase, and then ultimately to put our members on the local pages of various partner sites. And I'll share that with you. It's been phenomenal in how it's worked. We also do the local wine expo targeting businesses. So you can imagine airport lounges, hotels, the list goes on, restaurants. Also looking at third-party expos and trade fairs. So we buy space for members at other exhibitions. Also the localization commitments I've made mention of, the market access platform, matchmaking, and also our website, which is the premier list of local manufacturers and service providers. Looking at the working that we do in the public sector, this could be a game changer. As you know, we're waiting on the regulations of how the government buys. This will be published for public comment June, July this year, we've been told. And we've given a lot of inputs into how we want to see government buying. And I think it will be a game changer. I'm sure our comments will be taken into account, but it also, our work in terms of lobbying continues. And we can lobby because we know what government is putting in those tenders. And how we know that is because we have a tender monitoring function. We're so excited. The market access platform is there. We are switching over to the new AI tool, the same with tender monitoring. It's also going to be an AI tool, and it's going to be specific to each and every member of ours can have their own profile on the tender monitoring function. So you can then put in the keywords you're interested in receiving in terms of the tenders, and then you can take that forward and you'll get notifications every single day. So we think this could be a wonderful game changer. And we're also working in the same breath with the DTIC, looking at the industrial procurement, working with the industrial procurement unit to see what is government stipulating in those tenders, because it gives us then the power to go knocking and to go lobbying that they change their buying habits. We're also in the process of integrating with the CSD. We actually have integrated now. So any member company of ours that want to be on the CSD, not yet on it, can be on that. And you have to be on the CSD if you want to do business with government. But the second phase of this program is going to be exciting. We're asking Treasury to help our members include the logo or a phrase of some sort that makes them stand out as a local manufacturer. They almost become a category of person in their own right, or it could be a local service provider, so that anybody buying for government, if there is a stipulation that government must buy local for a specific product or in a specific sector, they know where to find the local equivalents. The members of Proudly SA will be on the CSD and they will be standing out. So it's a very exciting time to be part of the campaign. And then, of course, the consumer work that we do. So we access consumers via our online store partnerships. We have also part of retail programs linked to the master plans, the sectoral master plans. We have third-party expos, markets, and trade fairs, social media campaigns. We also have our website listing. We also have other campaigns, local fashion police, which is also an event and a competition. Also days of observation, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Black Friday. Whenever South Africa has more money to spend, we hope that they choose the local equivalents. So we also educate who the local heroes are, which are our member companies. And we also then guide the consumers on where to find and where to buy our members' products or where to access our members' services from. So that's the work that we're doing in the consumer space. Here are some of our e-commerce partners for you to have a look at. So there are local pages on each one of these stores. And then, of course, we have our own. We launched 1st of July last year. It's a business to consumer as well as a business to business site. It's a marketplace. So each one of our members will have their own store within Shop Proudly SA. And you can currently you have your products delivered anywhere in the country, 3 to 5 business working days. We've never been late with delivery, which we're really thrilled about. But the exciting news is next month, we'll make it official. But next month, we are going to start exporting or making this site available for exports for our members' products. So we are really excited for this new era for Proudly South African. Our mandate has always been domestic. And we think that if we can take our members or help take our members' products abroad, the impact that can be realized is going to be phenomenal. So we are going to start with the business to consumer transactions, and then we will look at targeting B2B transactions, which is where the biggest impact can be. So please look out for us in that space. But this can only take place if you become a member. So just very fast, we have to vet you in accordance with our 4 key criteria. We need to know that you are producing a local product. We have to make sure that if it's a service, that you also adhere to our local content requirements. So we do require you to have your own commitments. So you must buy from other local businesses, local manufacturers, local service providers. You also have to adhere to certain quality criteria. So it's really dependent on what the regulator requires, but we'll take it on a case-by-case basis in terms of what quality criteria is required. We also look at fair labor practices and safe environmental standards. The membership fee, we have not increased it for almost 10 years now. So it's all about your annual sales turnover. So if you're turning over 5 million rand or less, your membership fee is 500 rand for the year. And as your annual sales turnover increases, so too will your membership fee. So the diamond category is the highest category, meaning you have the largest turnover, which is 100 million rand or more, and your membership fee will be 100,000 rand per annum. And there are discounts in place, etc. So it's very affordable to become a member. We have beautiful success stories. Please visit our website to access them. I'm going to leave you with the video just to showcase to you what it means, how far we've come, and why we think it's important for you to buy local. And it's all about the legacy that we wish to leave behind. Let me play this for you.
There's a voice that is calling, loudly calling, day by day, the voice of the future.
When I started my business, all I wanted was to create jobs and a legacy for the next generation, because I see opportunity when others see impossibility.
It all started with a thought and then a seed in the garden. which grew into my very own farm that feeds the whole nation daily.
Cotton, silk, and a little bit of treasure, I create masterpieces that give South Africans an identity, comfort, and confidence, because when you look good, you feel good.
From the factory workers to the warehouse and then over the seas, I want to show the world what proudly South African looks like. It all started with just some ink on paper and inspiration to bring people together. With my furniture, I now help create spaces that are beautiful, comfortable, and authentic to human light and connection.
I've always been driven by curiosity. It fueled my dreams to create automobiles that accelerate our nation into greater possibilities and the beauty of the unknown.
I was born into a rainbow nation. My life has been full of colors and mixed flavors. And when I started my bakery, I wanted to share the joy with the world and with South Africans in particular.
All I ever dreamt of was to be a bird and fly high. And now I have the wings to help others fulfill their dreams of flying high too.
But it can only be a dream until you make it a reality. All they need is your faith, your trust, your loyalty, your appreciation.
And most importantly,
Your support
because supporting local businesses
Helps create jobs
and secures our future.
South Africa, their future is in your hands. So what are you going to do about it? Be proudly South African. Buy local to create jobs.
Thank you so much. If you'd like to contact us, our email address is info@proudlysa.co.za. Thank you so much. Enjoy the webinar.
Thank you so much, Janine, for that comprehensive overview of Proudly South African. I think our guests really got to understand the mandates, what our objectives are, and how they can get involved. And like the video said, buy local to create jobs and to secure the future of our children and just the future of this country and our economy. We are now going to hear from our first speaker, Mika Stefano, who is a director at Stong, a PR marketing and events company. And Mika is going to speak under the theme, Fueling the Nation, How Local Marketing Drives National Impact. So we always hear how important communication is, how important marketing is in a business. I mean, even when you do your business plan, there is the marketing part of it. So it's as you have the business idea, remember that don't forget about marketing. You may only think about the finances and the other things, but marketing also plays a very big role in having a national footprint and starting out and getting your name out there. So I'm interested to hear what Mika is going to have to share with us. Mika, over to you.
How are you, Anele?
We are all good.
Good. Hello, everyone who's joining in, logging on. So I'm going to quickly share my screen. Hopefully you can see it. And I'm going to also switch off my camera over there.
Yes, we can see it.
Awesome. So to be honest, when I was invited to talk about fueling the nation, local actions matter, I was a little bit honored, but really quite confused. I was almost like, why me? Why did you ask me to do it? Is the screen moving? There we go. Why me? But then I stopped and I thought about it. And I realized actually everything I've done in my career, my entire career, which in a few weeks' time I turned 40 years old, has really been rooted in being proudly South African. So today, it's really not about theory, it's all about decisions. It's about understanding how small everyday decisions that we make within marketing, within business, things like who we hire, the things we promote, the stories we tell, the stories we share, that they can all create a big impact within our economy here in South Africa. By the end of this talk, I would hope that you would understand that turning everyday decisions into real measurable impact can really make a big difference. We really don't need big budgets, but what we do need is better intention. And if there's one thing that I want you to leave with, it is exactly this. You don't need a bigger budget. You just need better intention. It's really all about thinking about what you need while creating a brand, because every supplier you choose, every story you tell, every collaboration you build, it either grows our economy or it doesn't. I say this all the time. It's either you make the change or you don't. So, when you asked me to speak, I thought, what better person or what better thing to speak about than myself? So, quite humble, but yes, the first spark of where it all began. My very first job was at the Market Theatre in Johannesburg in Newtown. Now, this was my first proper job, and I was working in the marketing department, working in the audience development department. And back then, I was literally earning maybe 3,000 Rand. And with that money, I used it to build what later became the Mika Stefano brand. But there's one thing that always bothered me. I would ask my friends to name 5 actors, and they could easily name 5 international actors. But to name 5 local South African actors, this is where they struggled. And now I want to ask you honestly, of these people on the screen, how many of them can you yourself name? And that's when it stuck. And that's when I said, I am going to make local the priority. Now, for some of you who don't know, I have or I had called mikastefano.com, and it was a local entertainment website. And I decided to make sure everything that I wrote about, that I spoke about, was 100% South African. Now, back then, the internet was still new, people were still discovering the internet, and no one was actually talking about local celebrities, what AKA was doing, or what different artists were releasing, music that was happening, who was acting in which TV show. And I said, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to make my website 100% South African. And I think, honestly, that's where the difference began. That was the spark. And from that decision, many different doors opened for me in terms of radio opportunities, TV opportunities, various opportunities. But even with those things happening in terms of radio, in terms of TV, I knew that it would always come down to one thing: local stories, local voices, and our local culture. It's quite embarrassing now thinking about it. I had a song that I created which was called Twitter Dance, but it couldn't just be any song. It couldn't be an R&B or a hip hop song. It had to be rooted in South African culture. So it was a Kwaito song. Here's Mika, this little white gay guy, singing a Kwaito song. But I knew that if we didn't define our own culture, someone else would. So platforms really do matter. And while all of this was happening, I started working at the Theatre on the Square in Sandton. And one thing that's really amazing about the Theatre on the Square is we really do promote telling local stories. And I started my career at the Theatre on the Square, literally handing out flyers, to growing within the business, to now being the marketing and brand director of the Theatre on the Square. It was really important to have a space and create a space where South African writers, South African creators of theatre, South African actors could share their stories on stage. Because when you share your stories on stage, audiences see themselves and they too can relate to that. Also, while all of this was happening, I'm a man of many talents, juggling many things. I was the station manager of Trans Africa radio station. And we decided to make the decision, and it was risky at the time, to be 100% all African music. And it really wasn't easy because at that time, like people were a little bit cautious and they were like, no, you still have to play international music. But we knew that we had to have a station that played 100% African music, and be it rock music, classical music, hip hop music, any genre, as long as it was created on our continent. And it really made me realize that you have to create a space for local, because it really doesn't shrink anything, but what it does do is strengthen the relationships that we have with each other. Now, proudly South Africa. I remember these were some of the people that we interviewed on our radio station. Some you may remember, some young up and coming artists. Now, I have a very, very long relationship with Proudly South Africa. I think it was maybe 16 years ago, I came to Proudly South Africa and I wanted to be a business on Proudly South Africa. And it was really random because there weren't individual people, but more businesses. But I knew that I would be aligned to Proudly South Africa because everything that I had been doing was talking about South African content, talking about South African stories. So it really wasn't a shift, but more of an alignment. And one thing that we did together with Proudly South Africa was this lovely campaign for Valentine's Day, where we handed out roses to really support buying local, loving local. It was for Valentine's Day, and a whole bunch of different people, we got together and we handed out roses on Santon Drive. So it was really, really a deep-rooted relationship that I've had with Proudly South Africa. And I'll tell you that now, fast forward a few years, I own a company together with my business partner, Harki Dupria. It's called Strong PR Marketing and Events. Now, let me show you a little bit about what we do. And it's funny because many of the things that I started with in terms of when I was in the market theatre, in terms of promoting local artists or with the blogging sphere, now plays a big part of what we do at Strong PR Marketing Events. Because we don't just talk about local, we build it. We create stages, we create platforms, we create spaces, online presence for artists, South African artists, to share their stories. And it's a really important thing that we do at Strong PR Marketing and Events. Here are our team, and we've worked on several great campaigns over the last 4 years. In June, we're celebrating our 4th anniversary. Now, I also have a gym, like I said, a man of many talents, and I find it very important that even in my gym, the idea of representation matters. When I built this gym, it's called Strong. I wanted to make sure that it's a safe space where there's different trainers that really do appeal to different people who are coming to the gym, be it younger trainers, older trainers, trainers who aren't necessarily lean and ripped, because when people see people who look similar to them trying to become healthy, they too find an impact in that. At the end of the day, and here's some of my trainers, at the end of the day, everything that we do, we needed to make feel South African. Back at Strong PR Marketing and Events, when we worked on the launch of the MTV Sugar Down South Season 3 premiere and their whole new TV show, we decided just little elements and really engrossing the whole premiere, having little elements that were really touch points that are really truly South African, having chappies and amakip all over the show, just really making it nice touch points that really enhanced what it means to be South African and part of township youth culture, which is what the TV show is all about. Now, another nice campaign or another nice partner that we're working with on Novus Media. Now, Novus Media, they just recently launched Die Papier, which is a weekly Afrikaans newspaper. And this really does excite me because a whole bunch of different newspapers and publications are closing down. And here they are building and creating a newspaper for people to read every week, sharing local news. Some of the other publications that Novus Media do, Kickoff New Magazine, the Kickoff Soccer, Kickoff Rugby, Laduma Magazine, several different regional newspapers. So they're really quite aligned to everything that I stand for in terms of promoting South African news and content and South African stories. Even with the conferences and summits that we've worked on, we always ask ourselves, how do we make this more South African, and how can this connect with people globally? I need you to understand, local is not small. Local is really specific. It's authentic and it is powerful. And when it is done right, it becomes national. And then national becomes global. Now, the real engine, the real power is building ecosystems and building relationships. Now, you really don't see this at the end of the result in terms of the event or the campaign, and I'm talking about marketing and events right now, but you really don't see the tip of the iceberg. You only see the tip of the iceberg, but you don't see everything that has happened, all of the hard work and everything that has been put in, and that is the people that have made it possible. And all of this starts with not boardroom meetings, but conversations, simple conversations that can happen over coffee, sharing ideas, listening to each other. Because when strengthening relationships happen, you strengthen ecosystems. It's a little bit of a ripple effect because small actions create big impact. Everything I have done, from one blog post, it leads to one conversation. One conversation led to one collaboration. One collaboration led to strong PR marketing events. And that is just showing you exactly how impact grows. Now, here are 3 strategies to make a difference. Start local, and I'm sure everyone on this call is starting local, but even if you are local, support local. Strengthen what is already part of our community. Build ecosystems, develop collaborations amongst different businesses and organizations. By working together, we expand our network. Stay consistent. Consistency is key. By building momentum and doing this regularly, we will flourish together. Now, I want you to take away something. I don't want to just leave you with ideas and a little rant about who Mika Stefano is. And I want you to leave with this little thing called the 5 local moves. And I want you to think about how you can implement some of these today, tomorrow, and how you can implement. The first one, audit one thing. Basically, look at your next project that you're working on and ask how you're always defaulting going to a global supplier or a global brand and how you can change that to local. Swap one supplier. So in terms of events, if you're working in events or marketing, how can you swap one supplier, be it a designer, be it a technician, be it a content creator? How can you swap it to a local creator or a local designer? Spotlight one local story. And I love sharing stories within strong PR marketing events in terms of our own company on what our own team are getting up to. So share the stories of your team and brag about it. Book one coffee. All you need to do is reach out to someone on this call and just book that time to meet up with them. It's not about having a pitch or presenting something, but just about having a connection, sharing ideas, and then commit to being consistent. Do this again and again and again, and continue to do it until it becomes part of your nature, and you continue to do it. Just imagine if every single person on this webinar call made one local decision. Imagine the ripple effect, because local sparks only become national impact when we choose every single day to invest in our own people, our own stories, and our own economy. And if we get it right, South Africa doesn't just participate, we lead. Thank you. Please feel free to scan my barcode. I'd love to chat with anyone, and maybe we can go for a coffee.
create your own culture, share your story, share your story, be intentional on local material, build local, make South African. I really like that one. And local is not small. When done right, it can have national impact and a global footprint. You build your relationships, start the conversations, nurture those relationships. Start local, build ecosystems, and stay consistent. And then the 5 local rules that you say were so simple, they will have such a big impact on our own business, but also just in the whole ecosystem of businesses in South Africa. Like I'm saying, go for it, who you're working with. So I'm not too sure what happened there, but I hope everyone can still hear me and see me. But thank you so much, Mika, for that. I would like to invite our next speaker. Please, Makatseng Mokwe, I hope I got your name right.
Okay.
You say your name
It's Makatseng.
when you go on. Yes.
It's Makatseng Mogome, but that's fine, Anele, because I don't think the network is great at the moment. So I'm not going to switch on my video.
Okay.
I don't know if it's just me, but yeah, because we literally now we have 7 minutes left, and I get anxious when it comes to time and running things on time. We don't want to keep our guests waiting, and I think without wasting too much time, I'd like to say good evening, everyone, and acknowledge my fellow speakers as well, Janine, which we've worked on. I don't know if you can hear me, Anele. Can everyone someone? Okay, thank you very much. I was just saying I'd like to acknowledge, Janine, our fellow speaker, Mika Stefano, and our moderator tonight, Anele, and welcome everyone, and thank you very much for taking the time to join us this evening. My name is Makatseng Mokome. I'm the senior manager at Foodbev SETA, and what I do primarily, I manage stakeholder relations, or rather I connect, stakeholders to what we do at the SETA. And the SETAs, I hope that everyone that's on this call knows and understands what SETAs do. We are one of the 21 sectoral education and training authorities. And simply put, our mandate is to facilitate access to training and skills development for employees and new job applicants in the food and manufacturing industry or sector. We're one of the 21 sectoral education and training authorities. And what we really do, we support the 21 sectors of the economy with skills development. Why do we do that? We want to make sure that South Africa has a skilled workforce that can compete against, the great giants of manufacturers in the world, like your China, your United States, Europe, and other, developed markets. So the job of the SETAs is to really do that, and to also make sure that from a productivity perspective, what Productivity SA drives, not productivity, Proudly South African does, because my apologies, we do work with Productivity SA as well, that the work of the Proudly SA, it really is commendable, and it can stand against the best in the world. And to Mika's words, we don't just create in South Africa. I think that's what I saw on the slide, but we lead. Everything we come up with, we lead. And I think that has been evident in the last few years, in South Africa. And just to the boring part, I was given a topic called Local Sparks, National Impact, right? And in my world, or rather in our context, the sparks that actually keeps the sparks going in our world is companies that actually pay what is called a skills development levy. So one day when you grow, when you've used Mika's services, the strong, proposition, and when you've gone and you've become a member of Proudly South African, it is going to be law that you must pay what is called a skills development levy. Once a year, which we are currently driving right now, you come back to the SETA, you tell us, or whatever SETA you might belong to, because if you are in the food and manufacturing space, you will pay your levies at SARS, and then they get directed through National Treasury, all the way to the Department for Education and Training, and then to us. You will have to pay a levy. And unfortunately, when you are working or when you are operating in any market, there's legislation, so it is law. And then once a year, like I said, you will come back and you will claim back your money. You will tell us what is it that you trained on. And then you get 20% of the 1% of the 500,000 Rand payroll threshold that you pay against, at SARS. And please, if today is confusing, we are available for post, event conversations such as these ones to take you through it and how that actually works. So unfortunately, you're going to have to comply with the law, and then you're going to need to pay that in. And then what we also work as well with, we work with small and medium enterprises, they train a handful of learners, but we've seen great stories and great outcomes from that proposition, or rather from those sparks, right? And then we also look at local skills programs, learnerships, internships, that also sparks, great national impact and great conversations, artisan development, initiatives. And sometimes someone will ask, what do you mean by an artisan? I mean, think of, your locksmith, think of your plumber, right? There is no way that economy can run without those two people, right? Or rather without a plumber in this instance. So artisan development is quite key and it's quite central in what we do. And, artisans, when they finish, training initiatives, they literally go and can go create their own, businesses and literally go straight and go into the job market, or rather start their own businesses. And we also look at what is called sector-specific training driven by chambers being the different food groups that we would support their group into chambers. It's a conversation for another day. More than happy to schedule another session with our colleagues at Proudly South African to take you in detail of what is it that we do, and other industry bodies, of course. And then what those people, or rather what those sparks would then eventually do, they would, create a more skilled national workforce, because you can imagine if someone that comes into your home welds or fixes your bathroom or whatever issues you might have from an artisan perspective, if they are not skilled, they can either mess up your whatever it is that they're fixing, or they won't do it well. Or you can imagine going into a bakery to go eat bread of someone that is not trained. And by training, we also mean from a food safety perspective, where you're eating food that is safe. So that is where we come in as Foodbev SETA. Other SETAs in the fashion sector, there's FMPM SETA, there's MICT SETA for the creatives, there's MER SETA for engineers, all the 21 sectors of the economy, or rather the different areas that drive the economy, they have a SETA. And I think the whole point here is, once you've done your marketing and all of those things, you need to understand that the responsibility that you are driving, or rather as a spark that would be in my space, you would be contributing to the reduction of unemployment. And I mean, it's a problem in our country. Youth unemployment is a national crisis at the moment. And then also improved productivity across the different sectors, achievement of national priorities. Everything we do gets, put into a bag that the president will take. He will go to Davos and say, we've got this, we don't have enough, please come back and invest in our country. We do send those reports. And when he goes to Parliament to present on performance of the country, those numbers also get, called out. And we use those insights to attract more investment into South Africa as well. And then strong alignment with the National Skills Development for 2030. There is a plan. We don't just work, the way that we feel like we want to work. We work within a legislated environment, and there's always plans. So everything we do is directed somewhere, right? And in this instance, we report to the Department of Higher Education and Training, and that department will then respond, or rather report, into the Office of the President. And then how we link it, we're almost to the end, and what is called now the multiplier effect. Janine spoke to it as well. It's a very simple math calculation, really. If one employer trains 10 learners, the result of that is it will improve, the workplace, and people will get employed, young people will get employed. And hundreds of employers who do the same, they can strengthen an entire sector and an economy. It's that simple, right? And then what we're saying is all 21 sectors of the economy contribute. When they all contribute, it drives national economic growth and transformation. It's very simple. An employed society can be productive. An employed society, we can become a stronger economy and stand against the biggest economies. And if we are trained, or if we've got a trained workforce, we are able to create and design our own, clothes in our country. We are able to, build our own furniture, our supply chains, and all of those things. So it's quite important. And I think I also liked what Janine said earlier when she said, change our procurement habits. But how do we change our procurement habits if the people that have to create the product that we want are not skilled? So we will always alternative markets because it will feel like we don't have the skill, right? So that is why actually CETAs exist, to try and bridge that gap. And unfortunately, like anything else, anything that is good, there must be compliance. We are in a highly compliant environment. You must be South African. You must, at least be in business for at least 2 years. You must be registered at SARS. All of those little things, that red tape, if you overcome that, then you can, actively participate in our economy. And when we do that, when we participate at a local level, it just simply means, there's measurable national outcomes. It is that simple. So we try to keep the conversation quite lighthearted. And I guess what we also say here is, every work skills plan that is submitted by the companies that pay levies, which we would like to see the people on this platform today becoming that. Every learner that is trained and at every workplace capacitated represents a local. We all have a role to play, whether we're running the mums and pups coffee shop around the corner, or we driving a big agency like Strong, or that's going to get strong and that's going to get known, or whether, we're doing Amagwinyag in Mahulering, in Soweto somewhere, or in Bushbuckridge. As long as you've got a place of employment that employs 1 or 2 people, just know that you are contributing to that local spark. But we are saying, let's help you get, a trained workforce so that you're able to be sustainable and drive a very transformative and progressive, workforce agenda. And on that note, I'm going to say thank you for our details. I mean, I'm sure Janine and team, as well as Robin, they will share them, and we look forward to engaging you further. Thank you very much for this opportunity, and good evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I am also going to keep my video on because I do realize that the issue was on my side. I really apologize for that. Thank you for your share. And I think one of the main things I just took from what you shared with us is compliance, 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 So thank you for reminding us about the importance of compliance. And it's going to help to keep our businesses running and sustainable, And just a few other things that you shared with us is when a spark is trained and skilled, they are able to perform their duties well and ignite other sparks through that. And when sparks, and I loved that you kept calling them sparks, because that's what our topic is today, is igniting that spark. When sparks have businesses and are working, unemployment is reduced, and that is one of the focus areas of Proudly South African. Is if we are buying local and supporting local, we will eradicate unemployment, poverty, and inequality. And, and then when you spoke about procurement, a trained and skilled workforce can help change procurement habits. And you were just saying that we need the training there. We need people to be skilled so that they do proper work and people can trust them and buy from them. Thank you so much for that. We're going to just do a little activity for about 2 minutes, and I think we'll give our guests some time to write their questions in the Q&A box. If you have any questions for Mika or if not, can I ask our guests our speakers to maybe please share the contact details and share with our guests if maybe at a later stage they would like to contact you. And the little activity that we're going to just ask for you to participate in is called Spark or Not. And what we want to gauge from what we're going to quickly discuss is, what makes a local idea or brand strong enough to grow nationally. With 5 I'd say sentences, phrases, where I will say them, and if you can just type out if you think it's a spark, which means yes, this will definitely help grow our local ideas nationally. And if you think not, you say not. It's not a spark. And with this, we just, as Mika and also as Maketseng have said, we need to change our mindset also about buying local and supporting local. So I'm going to read out each phrase, and then if you can just type out what it is that if you think this will spark national growth, or if you think not. So the first one is taking a short lift around your province to recharge and relax. Short lift around your province to recharge and relax. Okay, we've got 2 sparks. I will move on to the next one. Local artist only music festival. We've got others from the first question, a spark. The second one is local artist only music festival. Third one, wear locally made clothing brands from head to toe for a week. Wearing locally made clothing brands from head to toe for a week. Definitely a spark. All right, I love these responses. Spark in the Q&A session, we're also getting sparks there. And then eat at local restaurants, and not the franchised ones, but those in your areas owned by local entrepreneurs. Eating at local restaurants, not the franchised ones, but those in your areas owned by local entrepreneurs. So it could be a cafe, could be a shisanyama, that kind of stuff. Spark, yummy spark. Let me go check on the other side. Spark. All right. And then the last one is watch locally produced series or films free on streaming platforms. Watch locally produced series or films for a week on streaming platforms. Spark or not? Spark. Thank you to our guests who are responding in the Q&A section. Spark, yebo. Thank you so much. And I'd just like to leave you with this question. What's your local spark that can have national impact? So what is it that you are doing in your space, in your business, in your place of work, where you know you will have a national impact? The phrases that I've just shared with you here we wanted them to spark in you. Like, if I do this one thing, and our speakers spoke to that if we just do this one thing, we buy from a local supplier, we start changing our habits, and we then will actually see more locally produced items and we buy more from them. So even in your businesses, in your work, in your homes, we really want you to think about that spark. How can you spark national growth in business, in work, and in those environments? I am going to check if we have any questions for our guests before we close. We are mindful of time, and we really appreciate that you have been able to be with us until this time. It doesn't look like we have any questions for our speakers. Okay, since we don't have any questions, I think probably the speakers were so on point that everything made sense. It all made sense on my side, and it seems to have made sense to our guests as well. We really, really appreciate that, and we appreciate the time that you took to be with us today, especially at the change in time slot, trying out the evening. We hope it's been a valuable time for you, and we hope that you've learned a lot and that you will look for those sparks locally that will fuel national growth in our businesses, and to grow the economy, to eradicate unemployment, poverty, and inequality. Thank you so much, everyone. If you joined us late or you would like to share this with someone, it will be on Proudly South African's YouTube channel, so you can check out the link there. And as I mentioned earlier, if you would like more information on Proudly South African, please visit our website and our social pages. Have a good evening, have a good week and weekend, and we'll see you at the next webinar. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.